Okay. At this point, I don't even know what take we're on. But that's fine because I have my mate. I'm sipping on some mate and I don't know why I'm drinking mate. It's like 4:30 in the afternoon. It's not a good time for mate. Okay. All right, there we go. A little bit of mate goes a long way, you know what I'm saying? A little bit of mate goes a long way. Oh, man. Okay. Hello, Patreon people. You guys are the only ones that'll see this part, so what's poppin'? What's up? You guys are funny, actually. Not that I didn't think that you wouldn't be funny, but it's been really fun interacting with you on Patreon because you're hilarious. And your Snapchats as well. Good group of people. Anyway, here we go. Hello. I didn't like how I said that. Hello. I didn't like how I said it. Okay. Oh my gosh, why is this so difficult for me? Hello and welcome back to another episode of Education 101. We put the gay in education. But I'm not really teaching you much of anything. I'm just sharing some stories in hopes that you'll realize that you're not the only person going through what you're going through. So that's kind of the goal here. That was a really bad opening line. I'll fix that. I'm still working on coming up with something, so please bear with me while I work out all of the kinks in my podcast introduction. We'll have little music, like little lo-fi beats here in a little while. I'll make some sort of fancy intro, all in good time. I want to thank, first of all, my Patreon subscribers for making this all very, very possible, the podcast. I really appreciate the support and the friendships that I've gained via Patreon. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time. You get to see a bunch of extra TikToks and bloopers and Mate Monday episodes, just funny stories. It's fun, place to interact. So big thank you to my Patreon people. If you are curious about how to support me, that's one of the ways to do it. Patreon's a great option. I also have my baby gay merch. Got a merch site. So if you're interested in buying a t-shirt or something, that also helps. Little goes a long way. So I appreciate. Oh, what a cute doggo. I'm sorry, I got distracted. There was a dog outside the window. So cute. What a good fluffy boy. Anyway, if you're curious about how to support me, those are a couple of ways that you could do it. I really appreciate it. Today's episode is kind of not a spur of the moment. I've been thinking about it for about a week since the last episode that I posted, the Coming Out to Myself podcast that I posted. I had posted a short clip of that on TikTok and got a whole variety of comments on it, which was awesome. We love the engagement. We love to see people having a conversation. And I enjoy being able to spark some sort of discussion around, Christianity or religion and being LGBTQ. I think that's really great. I think more people need to talk about it. However, there were some things that came to mind that I want to clarify maybe a little bit, or maybe lay out more. How am I trying to say this? I want everybody to be on the same page as far as what this podcast is about. And it's going to be about a lot of things. First and foremost, it's a place for me to share my coming out story and what I went through in hopes that, again, you maybe feel a little less alone or a little less isolated. Maybe you've gone through something similar and it's nice to hear that. I want to share other stories. I want to talk with other people and hear about their experiences coming out, dealing with familial relationships, with friendships, I want to know all of the good things, but where am I going with this? I'm so sorry. I wanted to, after posting that clip to TikTok, I just wanted to clarify a few things. And I think to kind of give you an idea of what it is I'm trying to say in this podcast, I need to back up a couple decades, well, like a decade and a half, to my youth, my childhood, my adolescence, if you will. Because the more I think about it, the more I realize it was very, very peculiar, my childhood. And I think it's played a huge role in the way that I think about the world and the way that I see things, my perspective. Obviously, my dad always says that we are the sum total of all of our experiences. I don't know if he said that or if somebody else said that and he heard it and he says it now, but he says that all the time. And I think it's true. We are everything that has ever happened to us, everything that we've ever done. All of that is within us all the time. It makes us who we are. So I wanted to back up to my childhood to kind of give you an idea of why I am the way that I am now, and to maybe add some context to the things that I am going to say as we get closer to the end of this podcast. I grew up in a very rural area. My parents we've always lived where we can have a little bit of property and land and space. And my mom grew up super cowgirl. So I grew up kind of the same way. We always had like fun little ponies. When I say little ponies, I don't mean like fancy, riding club type ponies. I mean like ponies that we bought at a dumpy little auction in the middle of nowhere, Utah, where it was either we purchased the ponies or the ponies were going to an unalive house to be sold for meat. So they weren't the prettiest ponies. I mean, we found some ponies. Anyway, I digress. I grew up, I was a cowgirl. I was a horse girl. I was the weird, quiet horse girl that just wanted to live on a farm for the rest of her life and have animals, and animals were my best friends. And I just fantasized about, riding horses down the beach, and like, there was no beach in Utah, riding horses through the river and pushing cows up on the mountain. Like, that was my whole childhood. That was who I was. I that's what I was concerned with, was riding horses and drawing horses and other animals. And that was pretty much it from like ages 2 to 10. From age 2 to 10, I was weird horse girl. The other thing that I was, fortunately for me, was I was pretty good at reading and writing for some reason. I have a November birthday. So when I started school, I was the oldest in my class. And when I was in third grade, my English teacher, she talked to my mom about, she was like, you should have Caitlin, take some tests and maybe have her skip fourth grade and just go right to fifth grade, because her English is like, she can read so well. And I, of course, little smart aleck me, who thought I was just like the most intelligent. I was like, absolutely, I'm going to skip a grade because that's so cool and I'm so smart. I had no idea how that small, tiny decision would impact the rest of my life. Anyway, so the summer after my third grade year, I was in school like every week, like once a week, taking these tests. And come fall time, they were like, yeah, you can go to fifth grade. You can just skip the fourth grade. And I was like, sweet. That's so awesome. I don't have to go to fourth grade. Look at me. Okay, well, joke's on you, young Kate, because guess what? Now you're the youngest in your class. And guess what else? You have no friends. And guess what else? Your English teacher is going to make a point to let all of your other classmates know that you're super smart and you skipped a grade. Have you ever read Ender's Game? If anybody's ever read Ender's Game, this is what happens on the spaceship when they were going up to the battle station. Like, the captain guy made Ender seem like he was trying to isolate. Anyway, the teacher would, my fifth grade English teacher, bless her heart, she would make a point to talk about how I skipped a grade and was so smart, and that made the other kids not like me super much. I never got bullied. Actually, let me back up. I was woefully unaware of how much of a loser I probably was, like in school. Like I had no idea. But like there were kids that were probably making fun of me and I just didn't know because again, I was thinking about my horses and if my boots looked cute that day, and I was concerned about when art class was so that I could draw more horses or Dragon Ball Z characters. Okay, that's who I was as a youth, as a child. All right. So from the 5th grade through middle school, junior high, I was kind of just a loner. Like I had a couple people that I considered friends, that I kind of spent some time with, but for the most part, it was me. I was kind of on my own, and that wasn't a bad thing. I didn't go hang out with people. I didn't have play dates with people. I just kind of did whatever I wanted to do. I'd go home after school and I'd ride the horses and I'd do my own thing, and that was enough for me, and I was happy, and would go back to school the next day to my classes where I didn't really talk to anybody because I didn't really care to talk to anybody. I mean, I was happy when people did talk to me, but at the same time, I just was solving a Rubik's Cube and writing stories and, again, Dragon Ball Z characters. I was just drawing away. Fast forward to the 9th grade. 9th grade comes around. I start to really enjoy PE, good times. I end up trying out for the junior high school basketball team, which I thought was like, oh, this is super cool. There are a bunch of girls who tried out. And I was like, oh, my dad loved basketball. My dad loves basketball. So he was like, try out for the team. It'll be really cool. And I was like, yeah, that would be really cool. Play a little basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport. So I tried out for the team. And to my surprise, I made it. I made the team. Looking back now, it's probably because I was a 5'8", 160-pound kid in the 9th grade. I've always been like, a big, stocky kind of kid. So that's probably why I made the team. They just wanted to use me as I was, at least, if anything, I was like big, I was taller than some other people. I may not have had all of the skills as some of the other kids because I didn't play junior jazz. This was my first time. But if anything, I was a big, intimidating kind of figure. So that's probably why they put me on the team. But that was a very interesting time in my life because for the first time that I can remember, I belonged to a team. I belonged to a group. And it was kind of hard for me getting to be a little bit more social and talkative because I hadn't done that for a really long time. I mean, I was a social kid, but I was also like a teacher's pet, and people always wanted to be in my group for homework because I did all the work because I was concerned about getting good grades, and then they didn't have to do anything. Maybe, at least that's how I felt. That's probably not the case. I don't know. Looking back, I was that person. I was a teacher's pet. I wanted to do everything right. I didn't want to disappoint anybody. And so being on the basketball team was a new thing for me because it meant that I now had a group of peers that I had to build a relationship with if this was going to work, if basketball was going to work, right? And it went really well. And for the first time I had, I don't know initially that I was friends. I was still kind of like the weirdo, but, these girls on the team that were like the popular kids, I thought, they liked me, like we gotta hang out. We gotta play basketball together. And I just remember being like, this is super cool. Like, I like this. But at the same time, I was still weirdo horse girl that went home after school, after basketball practice, and I guess we're going to ride the horses, or I guess I'm going to draw something, or I guess, I enjoyed being part of a group and having that kind of camaraderie, but it was still, for the most part, it was just me doing my own thing, I like basketball, but I was still me. I was still weird horse girl, and I didn't really care what anybody thought about it. And that carried on through high school. I mean, I enjoyed sports. I was on a number of sports teams. I enjoyed having my teammates. Basketball, track and field. Track and field's kind of different. Track and field is when you're a thrower, I threw things. I threw the shot put and the javelin and the discus. And when you throw things, it's a social thing. Track and field is a social sport. If you're a thrower, you go and you practice and you throw, and then you sit around and you chat and you watch other people run and you laugh at them. So that was really fun for me. But I didn't ever feel like I belonged to any particular group. Yes, I was on the basketball team. I loved my teammates. I loved hanging out with them. But I also, like my junior year, I was also in FFA, Future Farmers of America. And I was like on the leadership committee, and I liked hanging out with the rednecks and the cowboys. And I really also enjoyed, like I was in a guitar class. Like I loved hanging out with the nerdy music people or the theater people. Like I had friends all across the board in every group. And so the thought of just like joining a specific group in school was never appealing to me, because I liked the things that I liked, and I liked who I was, and I wanted to enjoy a bunch of different things. I was still drawing stuff. In fact, in high school, I drew all the time. I was always like giving fake Sharpie tattoos to people, which now has transferred over to now I am going to start tattooing people for real, which is really cool. In high school, I had this small side hustle called Kicks by Kate, where I would like draw on shoes. That was really fun. Kicks by Kate was a real hit. But I liked a little bit of everything. My senior year, I ran for student council. Biggest mistake of my life. If I could go back and change one thing about high school, I would not have been on the student council. Unfortunately, I'm the senior class president, and double unfortunately for everybody else, I did not plan the 10-year class reunion. And if you happen to be from Spanish Fork High School class of 2011, I apologize profusely for not organizing the 10-year class reunion. Please forgive me. I had a lot going on. Not that that's an excuse, but I don't even have anything to say to you. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so I was a senior class president, and then graduated, went to college, did track at the University of Utah through the javelin, and then went on my mission, and then came back and did school again and did track again. And it's always just been, I've never belonged to a particular group to the extent that I have foregone like other things that I enjoy, if that makes sense. Like I was never so involved in basketball that I stopped doing the art thing, or that I stopped trying to learn a new instrument. I was never so involved in track in high school that I, stopped going to the institute building to play pool by myself because I enjoyed pool and I thought it'd be really cool to learn how to play pool. And like, I didn't play pool with anybody. It was just me. But I liked it, and that's what mattered. Bringing this to my present situation, why this whole story of how I grew up and how I grew up and how I interacted in social settings and things like that. I care to be surrounded by close friends who I care about and who love me. And mainly that's my family. I've always felt love from my family, even when we were having this really difficult time of me coming out, okay? I want to make that very clear. I never, even before I came out to my family, which we'll talk about in the next podcast episode, I never thought that my family would disown me or kick me out or ostracize me for being gay. I was very confident that I would still have relationships with my family members. Okay, I want to make sure that that is very clear. My parents, even though we have disagreed on sexuality and how I can be gay and also try and do the religion thing, they have always loved me and they have always cared about me. And I have always been able to confide in them, except with the gay thing at first. And I've always trusted that they would be there for me, regardless of my situation, okay? That is the kind of social group that I want, is my family and my close friends who care about me and want to help me be successful and see me be successful, and they're gonna tell me when I'm not trying, and they're gonna tell me when they think I'm making the wrong move. Those are the kinds of people that I care to have some sense of belonging to, if that makes sense. As far as, for example, the LGBTQ community, oh boy. As far as belonging to a group, I am not concerned with that. I do not feel an overwhelming sense of I need to belong to the LGBTQ community. I need to belong to this church organization. I need to fit in. I need to conform to be like everybody else in this group so that they won't reject me, so that I can be a part of that. I have never in my life had any desire to change who I am and what I enjoy doing and the way that I think and the way that I approach situations because of a certain aspect of my identity. I don't like being put in a box. I don't like when people assume that because I'm gay, I also hate religion or God. I don't like when Christian people assume that because I say that I'm Christian, that I can't be gay, that it's a sin to be gay. I don't appreciate that. I coming out and being open about my sexuality didn't change anything about me. It does not coming out does not change who you are as a person. It does not fundamentally change you. You don't have to change what you value. You don't have to magically suddenly change your opinions to align with the opinions of other people who happen to be Christian or happen to be gay. Like you don't have to try and conform to a specific group just because you happen to have something in common with those people. I don't see eye to eye with many Christians on the doctrines of Christ and the gospel of Christ. And I don't see eye to eye with many, many, many people in the LGBTQ community when it comes to religion or political views. I don't see things the same way. Just because I am gay doesn't mean that I think or act or talk or behave the same way that every other LGBTQ person does. And just because I am a Christian doesn't mean that I think or act or talk or behave the same way that every other Christian behaves. I don't want to be in a box. I don't need to belong to a group. I am who I am. I'm still a weirdo horse kid that likes lightsabers and drinking tea from South America and wanting to learn to play the cello at 28. Like I like what I like, and the most important thing to me is being loved and accepted by people who are very close to me. The opinions of people on the internet, strangers online, I really do not care what they have to say. I was journaling about all of this because I thought it was really interesting. I don't like when gay people tell me that I can't be Christian, and I don't like when Christian people tell me that I can't be gay, because quite frankly, I worked really hard with my therapist to be able to reconcile those two things about me. I am gay and I am Christian. I believe in God, and I can do both, right? This podcast is very interesting, and I don't know, the stories of everybody who's listening to it, but the people that I am trying to reach, or the people that tend to have the most in common or resonate with this podcast, I feel like generally are the Christian people who come out and are suddenly being told that they can't be a good Christian because they're gay, but they don't want to give up that foundation of faith in their spirituality, but they're also being told by a lot of other queer people that they're just dealing with religious trauma and they were brainwashed their whole lives and God isn't real and they don't need to believe in Jesus because Christianity teaches that homosexuality is a sin, and so why would you be Christian when that religion hates you? And it's a very small group, or so I thought. Now I'm realizing that there are a lot of LGBTQ Christians who are out there who are trying to reconcile their faith and their sexuality, and that's a hard thing to do. So that, if you are that, please know you are still you. If you just came out as gay, you can still be a Christian. You can still love God and Christ while being gay. Okay? Take it from somebody who has spent a lot of time trying to figure that one out, quite frankly. Like I said, I'm not going to give up either of those aspects of me. I'm not going to give up being queer, and I'm not going to give up being a Christian because some stranger on the internet tells me that I can't be both. I do not care about your opinion about how I'm living my life. Sorry, stranger on the internet. That brings me to another point. The things that I share here, I choose to share. There are things that I will not share. There are questions that people will ask me, and I may or may not answer those questions. I tend to share my opinions once I've thought things through a lot. I am trying to be more intentional with what I say and trying to be more precise with the things that I am saying. So I hesitate to share opinions or thoughts that are not fully formed yet. I like to process through things before I tell you guys how I feel about something. I'll share a lot. I'm willing to share a lot, but there are things that I choose to keep private, and nobody is entitled to that privacy. I don't owe that to anybody. So if you do ask me a question and I don't answer it, it's nothing personal against you, but it is something that's personal for me that I want to keep to myself. So I do appreciate questions, and I will answer the ones that I feel adequate to be answering. I also don't have any kind of... I really don't think that people care much about my opinion, to be totally honest with you. Like, do I have a fairly large following on TikTok? Sure. Does that mean that my opinion matters more than somebody else's opinion? Absolutely not. Does it mean that what I say is more important than what other people say? No, absolutely not. In the grand scheme of things, maybe nothing that I say matters to anybody. I hope that it reaches people that can take it and use it to their advantage. I hope that it reaches people that are maybe feeling alone or confused or scared, and that it will make them feel a little bit better, maybe a little bit of peace, a little bit of comfort. That's what I hope. But I don't pretend to be more important than I am. The internet could care less, could not. The internet could not care less about my thoughts on things. So I appreciate you listening. Don't let people put you in a box. Don't think that because you just came out, you have to suddenly change all these other things about you. You come out, and in doing so, in coming out, you are going to be more of yourself. You don't have this secret anymore. You can breathe, Did you guys ever see that movie, the Simon one? What is it called? Love, Simon? I think it's called Love, Simon. Beautiful movie. I cried like a baby. I cry like a baby all the time, but I really cried like a baby on that one. Your sexuality is really just a tiny portion of who you are. That's the last thing that I care to tell people. I know it's weird because on TikTok, that's who I am, right? On TikTok, on social media, I'm not straight Kate or baby gay. And so that's like the main thing about me is like, oh, it's Kate. She's like a raging homosexual, which isn't really true. I'm not really raging, but that's how most people know me. But that's not how most people know me in real life. Most people in real life either know me as their boss or their coworker or their videographer or their tattoo artist or that one white girl who speaks Spanish really well. Like what? The last thing that really people get to know about me is my sexuality. Because that's not all of who I am. And it's not all of who you have to be. It's an important part of you, don't get me wrong. And it feels so nice to not have to keep that a secret anymore. But do not give up on every other aspect of your identity once you finally step into this identity of, oh, I'm queer, I'm lesbian, I'm bisexual, I'm gay, Don't give up on everything else just because now you have this newfound identity that you're excited about. And you should be excited about it. It's an exciting thing. It's a scary thing. It's exciting, but there is so much more to you. Human beings are so complex. I value individuality so much. I believe human beings are capable of some amazing, amazing things. That doesn't mean that I don't think that human beings are capable of committing gross atrocities. We are. But individuals are so complex and there's so much to people. I try so hard to not jump to conclusions about a person based on their labels, on one or two labels or identifiers that they might have, because that's not the whole story. It's not. You can't group together everybody in the LGBTQ community and think that we're all going to think the same way about XYZ. You can't group and lump together all Christians and think that we're all going to agree on the doctrine of baptism or faith or grace or anything like that. Everybody's experiences are so different. We are the sum total of all of our experiences, and everybody's experiences are so, so different. Your experiences are different. What you've gone through, who you are, is so much more than any surface level identifier. Like being a chapstick lesbian. More on chapstick lesbians in a later episode, perhaps. We'll get more into terminology a little bit later in education, but I have gone on for too long. Long story short of this podcast, don't let people put you in a box. Don't put yourself in a box. Don't put other people in a box. Try to recognize that everybody's experiences are different. You don't have to belong to any specific group based on one aspect of your identity. Coming out is about becoming more yourself, more of who you are. You are more you. Okay? Okay. Good talk, everybody. As always, thank you for listening. Shoot me a message on Instagram if you have time. Again, I'm bad at responding to messages, but I do try to read all of them. I just sometimes in the moment, I don't have time to get back to people. I'm trying to pick a day that is Instagram message response days. But to those of you who have sent me messages, I appreciate it so much. I really enjoy hearing from you guys. And if you do have any questions, either about my coming out experience or navigating relationships with my family or anything like that, please don't hesitate to ask me. I am happy to try and incorporate that into a podcast episode. So reach out to me if you have any questions or thoughts or feedback. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening, you guys. We'll catch you in the next episode of Education 101. Thank you. Goodbye.